Shalom Aleichem. I'm First Yahudin Messianic Temple here in Lake Placid, Florida. I am his servant, Maria Simpson. And welcome again to the message today on Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom to everybody. May you have rest. May His Shalom be upon you. Wherever you go, we need His Shalom more than ever. We need His peace. We need peace in the world, peace amongst mankind. We need peace. So today we are in His rest, in His Shalom. And more than ever, since we're living in times that is very stressful time. Everything is fast foods, fast lanes, going to work fast, everything fast. Let's get dressed fast. Everything is fast. So really we need His rest more than ever in our lives today. We need His rest more than ever. With that in mind, brothers and sisters, let me do a prayer. Abba Kadosh, I thank you for this wonderful Shabbat that you have given us. For this is the day that you have given us, and we will rejoice and be glad in it, Abba Kadosh. Because in it, Abba Kadosh, we have your shalom, love, joy. We have Abba Kadosh, worship, and we thank you, Abba Kadosh, because greater are you that is in us than him that's in the world. We love you, we exalt you, Abba Kadosh, and we thank you, Abba Kadosh, and I ask of you right now, Abba Kadosh, that you touch all my brothers and sisters that are going through hard times, that are going through pains, Abba Kadosh. I ask of you, Abba Kadosh, that you help them. Abba Kadosh, in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, may there be healing, may there be deliverance, may there be salvation, Abba Kadosh, in all my brothers and sisters today, Abba Kadosh. I thank you, Father, and this I pray in the mighty name of Yeshua the Messiah. Amen, amen, and amen. So with that in mind, brothers and sisters, what is the message today? The message today is titled, When Adversity Strikes. Now, when does adversity strikes? Because the Bible says there is a time, there's a time for everything in life. There's really a time for everything. And this in the book of Ecclesiastic, where Solomon says, everything there is a season and a time and every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck out, a time really of war and a time of peace. And I'm not going to go through, and this is in Ecclesiastic chapter 3. Now, who receives adversities? Well, adversities comes to everybody, whether you're a good person, a bad person, whether you're evil, whether you're not. The only thing it needs is to be human. Now, have you heard in numerous times that it says, why would a creator who is all good, all knowing, all powerful, allow bad things to happen to good people? Well, what is your definition of good people? Because biblically speaking, it says there's nobody that's good. Not even one. He says that our righteousness are filthy as a rag. So see, being good, we need to understand what is the phrase being good is. What is being good? Because even with our thoughts, we say negative things, or we think negative things against other people. And sometimes gossip. And so what is really good? We also turn to the question around why all good, all-knowing, all-powerful creator allow good things to happen to bad people. After all, while seeing good people suffer is horrible, it is much fun seeing evil people having fun either. It's not much fun seeing evil people having fun either. Now, how could God let this happen to me or mine? Have you ever said this to yourself? How could God let this happen to me and to mine, in other words, to people that I love? How? Why couldn't Elohim or God stop this pain and help me? Number one, that when he created mankind, he said, let us make man in our image and our likeness, and let them have dominion over all the earth, over everything. Okay? Now, the God, the creator of heaven and earth, does not cause pain. He doesn't cause this. We ourselves cause this in our lives. Sometimes the environment, people that we surround, or sometimes rebellious, maybe prideful. You don't want to hear directions. You don't want to hear instructions. Really, and you know what the sad thing is? That when something really, really bad, and maybe sometimes we are a believer, there's some people that begin to question God and says, where is he? Why does he allow this to happen? Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think that what's happened in the world, that God had done this, or mankind? See, these are questions that are very good questions. Because see, if you really look at it, it all goes back to the Garden of Eden. From the beginning of time, from the beginning of creation, mankind always wanted to excel the Creator and wanted to be above him. They wanted to obey him. Pride. Look at Adam. So see, what's happening in the world today, has it been caused by mankind, or has it been caused by the Creator? It's been caused by mankind. And if who's real, who's on first, who's on second, what's going on, this and that. Now, how do wars begin? Or how do wars start? War starts sometimes, it could be like Romeo and Juliet, some kind of love affair that cannot be, or sometimes something that you said against maybe a country or a kingdom. Just something that we said, and or because you want to, because of land. So see, he puts us here for a reason, for a purpose. It's not, we are the ones that create all these bad things. We bring all this to ourselves. Now, see, good things and bad things happen to everyone. There's no exemption. Everyone goes through their good times and bad times. Whether you're evil, whether you're not, whether you're a believer, whether you're not a believer, it doesn't matter. What it is that you're human. Okay? Have you ever asked yourself this question? I'm a good person. How could this happen to me? Have you ever asked yourself that question? I am a good person. How could this happen to me? I used to ask myself a long time ago that question. I'm a good person. Why does this keep on happening to me? What's wrong with me? Nice guys finish last. There are no good men out there, and there's no good women out there. Now, where do these remarks come from? Number one, these remarks and these statements, they come from mankind. They come from men and women. Men and women. Now, how can a woman say that there's no good men out there? How can a woman say this just because maybe you had a bad relationship? Now, just because you had maybe a bad relationship with 1, 2, maybe 3 men, and maybe it didn't go the way you wanted to go, how can a woman say there's no good men out there? Now, number one, how many men have you had an affair with all the men in the world? Because if we're going to say this about men and me being a woman, then we can say that there's no such thing as a good woman. Do you consider yourself a good woman? And if you do, then how can a man say that there's nothing as a good woman? So see, these are phrases that people, men and women say when they're angry, when they're going through something. This is why anger, you need to let it out. You need to really repent and you really need to forgive people, whoever it is that has angered you. Now, why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people? Do you believe this? Oh yeah, I do believe it. Really? Well, good and bad things happen to both good and bad people. See, we look at people, how they dress, how they speak, and sometimes, you know, that's not real. Because the Bible said, Yahweh said to Samuel, he told Samuel, mankind looks at the outside of a man, but I look at the inside. So what makes a person to be good or evil? It's not a question of being a good or bad person. It is just being human. No human being is exempt from not going through their trials and their tribulation in this life. We have times that is beautiful and awesome, but there are times that there's trials and certain problems that come our ways that sometimes we don't know how to overcome them. We don't know how to confront. We don't know what's going on. We get edgy. We get stressful. And it hurts because nobody wants to go through this. But see, we need to ask ourselves, how did this problem came into my life? What happened? Because we, each human being create whatever it is that they want. You can create your life. Right now, if you're going through some kind of trials or tribulation or some kind of hurting, pain that you're going through, I can tell you that you can come out of there. Because the same way you went in, the same way you can come out. And it all depends on how you create this in your mind. And it's not a positive thing. It's not a positive mental thing. Really, you can create your day. You can create your life. You can come out of where you're at. Because to live in life is not to live in constant stress and constant pain. That the body cannot tolerate. Because it is out of whack. It's not in balance. So now, look at how interesting this is. If you can go with me to the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse number 45. Now this is Yeshua when he was in the Mount of, and he was doing the Beatitudes. Now he was speaking to his disciples, and the word disciple really means students of the Torah, of the law. So this is Yeshua. Look at what he says. You haven't heard that it has been said, this is in verse 43, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thy enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Wow, that's a very strong thing. Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be the children of the Father which is in heaven. Now, look at this. Look at this statement that Yeshua is speaking. For he maketh his sun, S-U-N, to rise on the evil and on the good, and he sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. Now, what does that mean that he sends the sun to rise on the evil people and also on the good people? And he sends the rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you, and I'll explain to you in a little bit. For if you love them which love you, what reward have you? Do not even the world do the same thing? See, the world has this cliche that they have these called groupies. You know, you get groupies. These groupies, it can be in church, it can be in work, it can be wherever. It can even be in if you go to a gym. You got the groupies. The groupies, and most of the time the groupies is because they don't, you know, it's to me, I look at that as a gang. It's like sort of like a modern gang kind of deal. And see, this is That's not biblically inclined. That's not biblically inclined. And this also happens in the church and also in Messianic temples too. Not a lot of them, but it does. Now, why does he make the sun rise on the good and the evil, and he sends rains on the just and the unjust? Now, the sun, which comes on the east, it comes out up on the east. When the sun comes out of the east, what it does, it brings sunshine. We definitely need the sun to survive for many reasons. Without the sun, our planet will get extremely cold and all living things on it will die. Plants use the sun's energy to photosynthesis, which is the process they use to make the nutrients. Yes, we definitely need the sun to survive. Can you imagine this? Without the sun, we cannot live, whether you're good or evil. Doesn't matter. You're a human being, you need the sun. The sun provides the vast majority of the energy we need to live. In other words, in order for us to survive on planet Earth, mankind, we need the sun. Okay? What really needs sunlight, why do we need sunlight for? Why? Because all animals on the earth need sunlight, because what is the sun? The sun is the creation of food. It's the creation of food. Now, so see, we have a loving Elohim. We have a loving God. And see, his love, his mercy, and is so great that he gives the sun to the good and the bad. In other words, he gives the sun to the good, the bad and the ugly. So, and also he sends rain. Now, what is rain? Why do we need rain? Rain is needed for drinking because it can become a source of fresh water, which is important for survivals of human beings, plants and animals. It adds water to rivers, lakes, and streams for other animals to live. It helps water all the plants and trees of the earth. Rain lets us make electricity through hydropower. It will make grass green and vegetable garden grow. It is needed for agriculture like farming. So really, what is rain? Biblically speaking, rain, when it rains, now I'm not talking about thundering. I'm speaking of just when it's showering. It represents blessings. When it's raining, biblically speaking, it's a blessing. So see, he sends blessing for the just and the unjust when he sends rain. Now, who brings evil? Or where does evil come from? Did you ever ask yourself that question? Now, if you want to know, and you believe that God is God and Yahweh is Yahweh and he is the creator of heaven and earth and there's no other bigger source than him. He is the source of all the universe. I believe this. This is my faith. I believe him. And this is what I believe. Now, where does evil come from? Who brought evil? Let's see where evil come from. Now, if you go with me to the book of Isaiah, chapter 45, verse number 7, it says, now this is Isaiah speaking, but the Creator is speaking through him. Isaiah is a prophet. And look at this. On verse number 5 of Isaiah 45:5. Look at what it says. I am Yahweh, there is none else. There is no Elohim or God besides me. I girdle thee, though hast not known me. Verse 6. That they may know from the rising of the sun, from the west to going down from the west, there is none beside me. I am Yahweh, and there's none else. But now look at verse number 7. Let's see who created evil. I form light, and I create darkness. I make peace, and I create evil. I, Yahweh, do all these things. Now, the word evil is in Hebrew is called Ra, R-A, Ra. Okay? Pharaoh was called the god Ra, the god of evil. That's who Pharaoh was. Now, he created evil. Everything comes from Yahweh. Doesn't mean that he causes evil. No, 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 no. Satan, the adversary, he's evil. Now, who created Satan? The creator, Yahweh Elohim. He created him. So did he create evil? Well, he created good, but good turned into evil. Now, why do good people that are good, bad things happen to them? Why is that? Have you ever thought? Well, the best story that I can give you on this, if you can go along with me, this is very important, because maybe some of you are going through some kind of trials and tribulation, and you're going through things in your life that it seems like impossible, and it seems like maybe the sky, the heavens, and the earth are uniting, and it seems like you have no way out. Well, I'm going to tell you, for every problem, there is a solution. And for every problem, there is a root problem that problem has caused that problem in your life. So what you have is a root that needs to come out. In other words, there's a weed growing in your area, in your life. In your garden, correct. Thank you. And you know what garden is that? Is your mind. Your mind is a garden. And see, in your garden, there was a root that was planted there. It could have been from your parents. It could have been maybe from your own experiences, maybe yourself. You planted a root or a seed that you didn't even know in your own garden, because your mind is a garden. So today, I'm going to help you how to get rid of that root. In other words, that snake in the grass that had been slithering in your mind. Now, what is the best example of a man that really, I don't believe that he should have gone through what he went through in the Bible? His name is Job. Job. Now, do you know Job's story? Well, it says in the Bible that there was a man in the land of Uz, and his name was Job. The man was perfect and upright, and one that feared Elohim, and he shunned evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters, which means he had 10 children. Okay? Perfect number, by the way. His substance also was 7. In other words, this was a very wealthy man, super wealthy man. And this is a man that he reverenced Yahweh. But he had a little problem. And see, this is why you have to, when we read the Bible, we have to understand. Now, do you think that Job should have gone through what he went through? Do you think that what happened here was a test between Satan and Elohim to test him? Well, this is a man that will pray to God every day. This is a man that actually did sacrifice to God every day. But see, Job had a little problem. Job, it says here that Job said in verse number 5, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed Elohim in their heart. Thus did Job continuously. Now, that's nothing, Maria. Oh, yes, it is. You know why? Because what came upon Job was fear. Fear. He feared that his children, maybe they cursed Elohim. So what he would do would be like he would do a sacrifice for his children, so God can forgive them. So what happened was, what Job had was a spirit of fear. And guess what happens? See, when you have fear, the enemy comes. Now, look at how interesting is this, because see, good things, bad things happen to good people. Even people that are believers. Bad things happen. But it doesn't mean that you're going to stay there. Now look at what happened to Job. Now, you know that there was a day that all the sons of Elohim came before Elohim, and even Satan came, and you know, he started saying, okay, what happened? Now look, now Satan is having a conversation here with Yahweh.
A chit-chat.
Yes, a chit-chat. Thank you. Look at this. Now, and Yahweh said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that fears Elohim, which means he reverences Elohim, and he shuns evil. Now, why is the Creator saying this to Hasatan? You know why? Because Yahweh is telling his own son, Hasatan, because he was an angel of light, and all angels are his sons. He says, see, you did not obey me up there, but my servant Job, there's none like him on the earth, because now Yahweh's telling Hasatan, you didn't obey me, but look, a human being is obeying me. So now Hasatan gets very angry. And look at what he says. Hasatan says, and Satan answers Elohim and says, do you think he fears you for nothing? Now this is a conversation between the adversary and Yahweh. Remember in the Garden of Eden? Okay, now. And look at what Hasatan is saying to Yahweh. Hast thou made him a hedge around him, about his house, and all that he has? And you have blessed the work of his hands, and the substance and increase in the land. In other words, he's saying, you have made a hedge of protection around his house, around his life, around his mind. Now, what is the hedge of protection? Angels of fire were around his house. Angels of fire, of chariots of fire. Now, do you really think the adversary is going to go in there when he sees all these angels and really chariots of fire around him? He says, you put a hedge of protection around him. No wonder he loves you and all this stuff. Because, but look at what Satan says. Take it away. Take it away, Johnny Canales. Take it away. And you're going to see that he's going to curse you. Because see, this is what we do when we're going through hard times, because we love him and we believe him. And when things don't go our way, because now there's trouble in our lives, most of the time, not all the time, a lot of us, what we do, we begin to say, I'm not following you anymore. I'm tired of this. If you exist, if I'm walking with you, I obey you. What's going on? I don't understand. Because see, for you to understand this, the troubles that you have first started in your mind. And since it was in your mind, it became reality in your life. Wow. This is what's happening. In your mind. See, we can blame Satan that Satan made me do it. No, it's not Satan. We do it ourselves. We bring happiness. We bring problems. So really, it started in the mind, just like Job. Job, what happened? A spirit of fear came upon him. And when he had the hedge of protection of these angels of fire, what happens? That fear, it opened like in his garden, so to speaking, the spirit of fear opened the door, and guess who came in? The seven, what is it? The seven midgets, what is it? The Goldilocks or the seven, what is it? I'm sorry. Snow White and the seven dwarfs came in. And let me tell you this. Where did the problem begin with Job? It's not that he didn't love God. It's not that he didn't obey God. It's not none of the above. But see, what he was looking at his children, that they were not obedient to him. So fear came, and guess where it came? It came to his mind. Now, now Hasatan is challenging Yahweh. Because see, this is where we, as human beings, we have learned this in the Garden of Eden. We like to challenge God at times. Because when things don't go our way, we want to do it our way, and that's it. And this is the way it's got to be. And guess what? We become rebellious because just like our children are rebellious with us at times, we too are rebellious because we are Yahweh's children. See, and guess what? In one day, this man loses everything except for his life and his wife. He loses everything. He loses his children. He loses his wealth. He loses everything. So see, bad and good things happen to good and bad people. Whether you are a believer, you're an atheist, whatever it is that you are, you're human. We all go through our traumas. We go through our pains. We go through our life. But I'm going to tell you something. It says in Psalms, and I know you have read this many times. But see, the more you read something or the more you hear something, the more it sticks to you. Now, it says here in Psalms 23, which is very popular, it says, though you are walking through the valley of shadow of death, which means now you're in a death valley. In a death valley, there's no you don't see anybody. You're going through a death valley. You see the hay rolling like this, and you hear the wind, and you feel like you're by yourself and nobody's there. So see, though you walk through the valley of shadow of death, you shall fear no evil. For Yahweh, Creator, Elohim of heaven and earth, is with you. His staff and his rod and his staff, they are comforting you. Now, when you're going through hard times, it's very difficult to really read the Bible. It's really difficult at times even to have faith. Not that you don't have faith, but since you are bombarded with so much pain and so much problem, how am I going to deal with this? Because really, faith comes by hearing and hearing the word of Elohim. And when you're going through problems, the least thing you want to hear is the word. Yes or no? Been there, done that, and I'm telling you, I've been there and I've done that, and it's not that I don't, it's like a torment in my mind. Because this is the war that we have, because we have caused it in our minds, and guess what? Since we think about it all the time, it's not going to leave. It's going to stay. And what happens when this is in constant, and then we think, of course, oh, the devil. Really, you think it's the devil? No, he gives us choices. You did it yourself. We do it ourselves. We create whatever we want. You want shalom. You want peace in your life. You can create peace. Oh, God. Maria, how are you going to do this? It's very simple. Very simple. Begin to think peace. Begin to think what kind of life, how do you want your home, your lifestyle to be? Literally. Hey, I almost died in a deathbed and I started doing this and I came out of it. Because see, we ask for prayer, and I believe me when I tell you, because I pray every morning. I'm a warrior. I mean, I'm a prayer warrior. And we ask people to pray, please pray for me, and we need prayers. But see, the prayers are not going to do anything until you believe that the prayers are working. And if you don't believe in your mind, how do you think prayers are going to work? See, I have a lot of knowledge when it comes to the Torah, but today I was just Today and other times, I've been telling people that I cannot bring Hebrew roots because there's a lot of Christians and there's a lot of Messianics and there's a lot of believers that are hurting, that are in pain. They're going through traumas. They're going through things in life and they need healing. Do you believe this? If you need healing in your life, do you really think that you want to hear a super duper, very, very intense Torah teaching that is going to, it's going to take you for, you can't. Because you need healing in your body, in your mind. You need healing. You need healing. You need things in your life. And I see this over and over and over again. This is why I recently don't bring Hebrew roots anymore. Because if I were to bring Hebrew roots right now, you're going to think that I'm speaking to you in a different lingo.
Yiddish.
And Yiddish, yes. And you're not going to understand. So, see, to me, I don't want to do that, but I want to bring you this to help you. To help you. How many of you really need healing? How many of you are going through traumas or going through pain? How many of you say enough? How many of you feel depressed and oppressed and that you're constantly crying? How many of you? So see, this is for you. Job lost everything in one day. But guess what happened with Job? Job's pain awakened him more to get closer to Yahweh and get rid of fear. You know, in the book of First Timothy, this is important because see, what is faith? What is faith? Faith is a spirit. And faith is not something that you begin to, that's it, it's in my mind, that faith is, but no. Faith is a spirit. And the only way that faith comes is when you begin to talk about the word. Faith comes by hearing the word. And what is faith? Faith is a spirit. Now, Paul is speaking to Timothy. And what is he saying to Timothy? Now look at this. Yahweh did not give you a spirit of fear because he doesn't have fear. He gave you a spirit of power, a spirit of love, and a spirit of a controlled mind. See, this is the problem in the mind. What is it that you're fearing? Oh, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. This is too much. My heart hurts. Well, you can put a stop to that. Because let me tell you, it doesn't matter whether you see the glass half full or half empty. The thing is that there is water in there. And that's all you have to worry about. Half full or half empty. I don't care. Here, this is water. How do you see it? It doesn't matter to me. What I see is water. Do you see water? I don't care how you see it. What I want you to see is the water. Well, this is your mind. This is your mind. Your mind right now is cluttered with a lot of junk. How can I say that, Maria? Well, you can de-junk it. You can take that junk and get rid of it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, when you woke up this morning, you decided in your mind what color of clothes you were going to wear today. What shoes you were going to wear. Yes or no? So can you create your day? Can you make your life different? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But the truth is, if you live long enough, you're most likely going to experience some significantly stressful event. Are you going through stress right now? That's a very silly question. Who is not stressful today? I even see women driving to work in the morning and putting on their makeup. And then I see people even talking on their cell phone while they're driving. No wonder sometimes there's accident and very serious accidents. Now, you and I will experience some form of trauma or some form of pain or some form of adversity in our lifetime. There's no exception to the rule. Isn't it funny? When you look at actors, they're making millions and millions of dollars. And I'm not into the columns of those newspapers of the movie stars, but haven't you noticed the moment they leave, the Hollywood or maybe singing, did you know that they go haywire? How can a person that has so much money, they do this? How can this be? Because there's no exemption. There's no exemption, honestly and truly. And we can change our lives, honestly and truly. Now, how is something stressful? A loved one dies, you get sick, someone will mistreat you, and the list goes on and on and on. I'm a good person. How could this happen to me? It's one question so many ask yourself when tragedy strikes. The reality is bad things happen to everyone. But it's not bad things that happen. It's how do you learn from that? What's the outcome? What do you learn from that? Because if you dwell on that adversity day after day, you're not going to get out of that. When adversity strikes, we have two options. We accept it to better ourselves, or we just stand there and we suffer. That's it. When you're confronted with circumstances that stirs you into action, ask yourself this question. Is there something I can do to improve my situation? Can I volunteer, write a check, or contribute my efforts in other ways? In other words, is there a way you can do your part? So how do you accept what it is and act in a way that aligns with your convictions? Let's take an example of professionals. Let's look at professional people right now who deal with high stress situations every single day. A doctor, nurses, firefighters, law enforcement, social workers often experience horrendous situations on a regular basis. These professions are notorious for burnout that often results in high work turnovers. What do you talk about it the most during your day? About your problem or the solution? What do you talk about the most? What is it that even in your bed, what do you talk about? What do you speak about the most during the day? But many professionals that are able to maintain their careers over a long term have learned two powerful skills. Let me tell you what the skill is. They show up to work, they do their job, they take care of those who need help. Once they're done for the day, however, they flip the mental switch, so to speak, and put work behind them. This out of sight, out of mind approach is what allows them to maintain their careers, helping others while maintaining peace of mind. When you're stressed out, when you're overworked and underpaid, when things are going not your way, when you see your children, when you see your husband, when you see your marriage, when you see your relationship, even including your health that is not right, what happens? This is a memory that you have stored in some sort of pain, whether it's an hour ago, a week ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, that you have memorized it so good that the problems is still arising, is still around. Now, what happened with Job? And this is something that we need to learn. Did you know that Job learned to love cockroaches? How is that? When he shaved his hair because there was a sickness that came upon his body. And he started smelling. He and his friends, they went into the desert and they were just praying. They were just meditating and praying. So he even see the roaches, and then what he learned, because now he begins to say the same thing that some of us say when we're going through problems. If God really exists, why is this happening to me? Why didn't I die? Why didn't you let me die when I was born? Why didn't you let me die? And of course, you always have friends that I don't even know what they are, but to me they're not friends. Now these friends of Job, instead of making his situation better, they started condemning him. Do you know people that condemn you because you're going through problems? Instead of helping him, instead of, they were condemning, well, you're evil. You're doing this because you didn't obey him. Do you have this kind of friends around you, especially believers, especially at church, that when you start talking about your problem, a lot of times they begin to condemn you? Who wants to hear this? Really, come on, that is not biblically inclined. And then to make things worse, his friends, Job's friends, were even worse off than he was. That's why they were condemning him. This is why people that cannot give you good advice, really good loving advice, and I'm speaking about believers, is because they have tragedy in their life. They got problems they don't know how to deal with, and they don't want to hear yours, and that's why they condemn you. Because they want you to hear them instead of them hear you. Now see, it's very powerful. Spending so much alone, it depends. This is Job. His prayer practice. He learned to appreciate the beauty of everything, including to love the cockroaches that would visit him in his pain every day. Haven't you noticed that when you, I don't know if this happens to you, but has happened to me. That sometimes when I'm going through some kind of ordeal, I look at everybody and I say, doesn't people look at what I'm going through? Don't they understand? And then when I go to the car and I begin to look at the ants, and I said, look at that. Wouldn't it be nice to be an ant right now so I don't have to suffer? I've done this. I'm not kidding. And then I begin to analyze, and then I begin to look at the trees and how they move and all this stuff. And let me tell you this. When you are going through something in your life, it is sad to say, but most of the time is when really we start seeking God. Because when we're going through good times, most of us, I believe God, and I'll read Psalm 23, at least 2 verses, that he know. And yeah, you love him, but not is the way when you're going through hard times. So see, adversities in our lives, sometimes, not that it's a good thing, but it creates in us so we can get closer to him. Has that ever happened to you? That it takes for some kind of adversity in your life to really seek him and really pray to him. And he answers. Now, wouldn't it be nice, instead of you going through adversity and seeking him when you have to, instead of doing this every day? Wouldn't that be nice? If he heard you when you're going through your adversity, imagine if you start seeking him every day. When adversity strikes, you don't pretend to be an ostrich and put your head in the sand. That's not going to make things better. Not watching a movie and you say, well, everything is going to go away. That's not going to make things better, because the problem is inside of you. And yes, you need to see the funny movie and all this stuff. But see, what needs to come out of you is what's in your mind. It's the pain. It's the pain. It's really the pain. It's the problem. How did your problem get there? How did it get there? Well, I don't know. My husband, my wife brought it. I don't know. The cat meow and he came in, and I don't know what the hell happened. I don't know. My children, rebellious, and my children don't want to, they don't. How did that problem get there? It didn't arrive. It didn't knock on the door. Somebody had to open the door.
Curse don't come without a cost.
Exactly. Thank you, brother. A curse does not come without a cause, biblically speaking. Now, what is a curse? Well, I asked somebody a long time ago, because this is going back like 20 years ago. apparently her grandson, 15 years old, raped his other grandson that was 4 years old, 2 boys. And she started crying, and I said to her, do you believe in curses? She goes, no. And she believed in God. And I said, well, that's not what the Bible says. And see, a lot of people, even believers, a lot of times they don't even know what a curse is. It's not some kind of spell that somebody puts on you. No. A curse comes when we are disobedient. When we disobey, not only Yahweh, even when we disobey ourselves. And sometimes we get into some kind of disagreement with somebody, especially somebody that is very close to us. And even though that sometimes what that person is saying is the truth, to make, so I can feel better, but I don't want to give them the time of the day because now I got pride. What happens? I go against it. Now, what's going to happen if I go against what this person that I know what is saying to help me? If I go against it, what do you think is going to happen? I'm going to create what? I'm going to create something in my life that I don't want. Just because I'm angry and I want to get even. And see, forgiveness is more powerful than vengeance. And I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down and you get up again. That's not the issue. The issue is when you went down, what did you learn from that? See, you can be 15 years old, 25 years old, 50 years old, you can be 100 years old. It's never too late to learn something new about yourself. See, it's not learning about others, it's learning about yourself. What is it that you need to learn from yourself so you can better your life? It says in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15, but it shall come to pass if you will not hearken or hear unto the voice of Yahweh your Elohim and observe all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you this day, that all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. Did you know that all this has happened already and it will happen again and it's happening now today? Believing in God is very powerful. But believing and doing and obeying what he says is even double powerful. Because he knows what we need in our lives. But see, it's not that he wants to circumcise the male. What he wants to circumcise is our hearts. Because when you have a stubborn, hard-headed, and you have a prideful heart, what you have is a heart of stone. And what he wants to circumcise is our hearts and get rid of the stony hearts. Do you remember David? King David? He thought he was the last Coca-Cola because he was a king, and now he's having an affair with Bathsheba, and Bathsheba is married with one of his soldiers. So now he begins to have an affair with her, while her husband is fighting. She gets pregnant, and because he is the king, okay, now she gets pregnant, and guess what happens? He wants to pretend, he sends for the soldier, which is her husband, so he can lay with her, so now since she's pregnant, so now she can say that he is his son. But see, what David didn't understand is that there's nothing that we can hide from God. And guess what happened? Because David he was prideful. So he began to fail. He says, please take away the stony heart that I have. Give me a heart of flesh. Do not take away your Holy Spirit from me. So he says, no problem. And guess what David did? He had Bathsheba's husband, he had him killed. Because now he fell in love with this woman that is nothing even belongs to him. What do you think is going to happen there? Well, she has a baby, and the baby comes out dead. Now, what happened? What happened to David's family? David had married different women. Now, one of his daughter begins to get raped from one of his sons. Solomon begins to have 1,000 women, all that were not even Israelites. So what happens in the house of Judah, or the house of David? There comes a curse. And see, it doesn't matter because they were rich. It was a king. But what changed David? What changed David, it was a humble man, and for Yahweh to take away the stony heart, circumcise my heart, and give me a heart of flesh. I am so sorry, because forgiveness and repentance is more powerful than vengeance. Get rid of the pain. Get rid of that. Hallelujah. Life is a process of experiencing when you're in Hell's Kitchen at one point or another. There you learn what type of gold you are, because gold is tried in the fire. Because there you are put in the fiery furnace of trials and tribulation. And there what gets tried is your character. Bad and good things happen to everyone. Do your part to alleviate suffering, and then accept what it is. No matter how adverse the experience we are having, life always presents us with something beautiful to appreciate, embrace, and to enjoy. Just because you're going right now through something doesn't mean you're gonna stay there. The good thing about this is, what are you learning from this? What are you learning? Is it making you, whatever it is that you're learning, is it making you better? Because every bad experience that we go through life, we are learning to make us better, not to make us worse. So with that in mind, what is evil? And this is so I can finish. Evil, what it means is adversary, affliction, calamity, distress, and misery. Since we only have 3 minutes left in the camera, I got more to tell you, but I don't have time. I'm out of time. I love you all. Sincerely, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to be stuck there. You're just going through something, and believe me when I tell you, when you're going to look back at this and you're going to say, wow, I can't believe it. And let me tell you, the biggest thing that we have is His love. Love, honestly, is the most powerful thing. We love you from First Yahudin Messianic Temple. Until next time, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.